In a world obsessed with big data and binary answers, what happens when emotion, intuition, and nuance enter the equation? Today, we unravel how AI sees us and what it might miss when the smallest data points tell the biggest stories. Dr. Fay Cobb is a true visionary where she champions ethical AI and community-first innovation. With a career rooted in tech inclusion and national STEM leadership, Dr. Fay has been a mentor to me and so many others building careers in tech and human interaction. She brings heart, strategy, and deep insight into shaping how data and emerging tech serve real people and real-world challenges. I'll let her share more.
So the question of who am I? I think a lot of times when we talk about who a person is, we often talk about that person from the perspective of their career. But I like to start out by saying, I'm a daughter, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a human being that has probably not followed the traditional path of anything, ever.
Right.
Ever. So, I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, I'm a STEMmer, but I'm also a lover of art.
You really are, yes.
And so I think defining myself of who I am is interdisciplinary. It is really a combination of all of this mashup of the things that drive me in terms of passion. And so that's who I am. Yeah. I am someone who is always attempting to leave a scenario better than what I found it so that people like you and others that are coming behind me can have a smoother path than for which I found it.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah, and I've definitely personally benefited from it. And I continue to, so I do love that.
Yeah. And so that's who I am. I am a person that is constantly looking to learn and to innovate in ways that will help keep my interests, spawn my interests. So that's who I am. That really is, right? Yeah.
I love that because I think having that range is important for a lot of reasons. I think, especially as Black women, the idea that we're strong and that we can do anything, obviously that comes with a negative connotation as well.
Yes, it does.
There's a dark side to that.
Yes.
Where it's just kind of, no one ever asked us, right?
Right.
Whether we wanted to be strong. And also being strong doesn't necessarily mean that that's all that I am.
That's right.
Like a battle axe that can just kind of break through walls and everyone can run behind me. Like I don't always need to be a hero in that sense.
That's right.
Because it's just such a limited way of defining someone.
Yes.
But when you just describe like this powerful package that you kind of bring to the table that you keep building on, that feels like real strength to me. Because it feels buoyant, it feels plastic, it feels like dynamic, like it's generative.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we can talk about each other that way, and that's everyone, that's all humans.
That's right.
But I think particularly Black women, range, right, is really important.
Yeah. And I think having range, but also knowing the scope of my limitations. And by that, I mean, particularly being in this STEM, we started out with saying, who am I? And I'm in STEM. This idea of having grit and being resilient, there's a price to be paid for that.
Let's talk about that. Yes. Because I think this is exactly why this podcast is all about the nuance.
That's right.
Right? Because, grit, resilience, not only is it just kind of seen, there's a lot of psychological chatter. I don't know that I believe in all of the research, but I think that there are some strong suggestions, right, that all you need is grit.
Oh, no.
Right?
I don't buy it. Let's talk about that. Yeah. I think grit is a term that really takes a look at a very individualistic approach. Everything resides within the individual, absent of the broader environment for which you engage. As a holistic human being, we both engage internally and externally. And therefore, grit, situating itself solely on the individual, does harm.
That's interesting.
It does harm.
That's insightful.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's kind of like antithetical to what people believe. It's almost like you're supposed to just keep digging and digging deeper and deeper and be more and more disciplined and finding this way to make sure it's all coming from you, because that ultimately, right, is what winning looks like.
Yeah, but that's harmful. And it's
not
healthy.
How do you let's talk about the actual effects of it.
Yeah, mentally it's harming. It's a weathering that happens to the body to the mind, to the psychology of constantly grinding, right? Everything wears down, including the human body.
Yes.
And so years and years and years of that is a lesson that I had to learn, right? That it is more than just about me working as hard as I can to fight through, to bust through something.
Right.
Right. And being able to step back and say, oh, actually, I need this community around me. I need my friends. I need my family. I need assistance. I might need some help. And I think in the STEM disciplines in particular, where it's all about grit and all about performance and all about the metrics and all about performance and all about output, there's very little time to take for reflection and to say, let me step back, let me reflect, let me see how I can still be a productive person, but also take stock in when I need to step back.
And I think, let me feel like, I think coming up, I grew up building computers. I started my career in deep tech at Microsoft. And I think for many years, I always prided myself on stripping emotions out of the thinking process. Yes. And certainly out of reflection, right? It's like, well, the more objective that I can be, the clearer that I'm going to see things, and the better solutions I'm going to come up with even for advancing my own career, just, feeling better the next day, biohacking. It's you kind of do all of these things around your feelings. That's right. Because feelings, quite frankly, just aren't really, I don't think they're held in the same esteem. No. And I think that's a big mistake. And all the reason I add that is because, especially with AI coming, right? This is becoming really interesting. Having both, a career that is immersed both in tech and definitely on the creative side, is I'm hearing a lot of really brilliant engineers who are building this technology, and they're using these words like, digital empathy. We got to figure out what digital empathy means. Yeah. And it's like all these funny words to be like, I need to understand how to be human. Yes. And they're using like buzzwords around it, but it is starting to become clear to me that a lot of the people that are building this software and this technology haven't invested time in getting to know themselves, haven't invested time in understanding why humans do what they do, right? Because humans are going to take action based on their feelings, not their thoughts. That's right. And so, every now and then you might be lucky enough to work your way back, but it's all about feelings when it comes to consumers, the people that are interacting with your technology. And I'm seeing this opportunity, especially with AI, for people that have tapped in. Yeah. Like they understand architecture, they understand systems thinking, but they also can tap in and figure out how do you kind of weave your emotions into this, pull emotions from other people on the team, which is like leadership 101. Right. And then like create these harmonious goals like within the system. Right. And like that's cool to me. Yeah. But the thing about current AI, it doesn't emote. Talk about that. AI doesn't emote. Talk about, because, you look at certain social platforms, right? And I feel like all that I'm reading is just like AI generated content. Yeah. And it's, I am so excited I am so humbled to share this with you. And it's like, people would say that that's emotion. Yeah. I beg to differ, right? Because as an emotion is part feeling, but also very much computational, right? There's a brain that happens. There is some synthesis of data that happens as human beings are interacting with these technologies. So the technology itself, and AI doesn't emote. It may give you or generate something that may appear to be emotion, but it is absent of, it doesn't feel. Humans feel. Can we try? I know that's kind of. At least we tried. So let me say this. But I think what you're saying is profound. I actually would love for you to see if we can unpack that further, because what you're saying is really important. And that word "feel," right? Yeah. It means different things to different people. Right. But when you say, it's like, I know that a computer can't feel. When I think about computation, right, I think of aggregation. Like, there's facts, there's data, and there's insights. That's right. Right? From like a retail perspective, the facts are X amount of X demographic of consumers are buying these jeans. And, here are the geographic locations that they're buying them. Here's the age demographic that's buying them. And here's the pricing that seems to be working. Yes. That's data and facts. And, a system does a great job of aggregating that for me, so I can very quickly parse out my markets and my market opportunity based on those demographics.
That's right.
An insight is, teenagers are buying jeans because it provides them with a social currency. That's why they're buying jeans. Women are buying Champion yoga sweatpants or yoga pants, not because they're actually caring about high quality yoga pants, because they're waking up, they're super busy, it's a Saturday, and sometimes if I put my yoga pants on and I'm cleaning the house, I just feel better about it.
Yeah.
That's not rational, but it's real.
That's real.
And so when we talk about how technology doesn't feel, sometimes I'm like, well, it doesn't provide insight, but I want to hear what you think, or I want to hear how you think about this.
Well, I think about this in terms of two things, right? So now we have AI that is really taking advantage of, or large language models are using both this technology, right? So, which is based on big data. Big data.
Let's unpack what big data means for those of us who don't know what that means.
Yeah, so it's big data, right? It could be anything from social to numeric to wherever you live, think, breathe. That's where your technology interactions, in the case of a retail example that you give, right? So it may be, how do you interact with the internet? How do you interact with the website? How do you go on social? How do you shop in store if you shop in store? Or are you all just having home deliveries? So wherever you are interacting, that's where your data are. I can pull that in and I can understand all of your interactions where they may happen. Big data, right?
Right.
But the idea of what you bring up about facts, data, insights, the insights are the feel, right? And in order to do that, you have to understand small data.
Oh, there it is.
You have to understand
there it is.
Me. You have to understand my, you have to understand culture. You have to understand my live, work, play scenario. You might need to understand the ecosystem that I live, work, play in. So to do that, and I often have said this, particularly as you know, in my teaching sphere, I would always say you have to interpret this relative to the context.
Yes, and the person and the person's interpretation of that context.
Well, and here's the thing about the person in the context. The person is both you as the techie. You have to understand what you don't understand, right? So who's on your team to help you with that understanding?
And to gain the deeper understanding.
To gain the deeper understanding.
Right.
Because the interpretation of, I always give this example, when X equals 0, people panic. And sometimes X equals 0 is a good thing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right. On a cardio calcium exam, a 0 is a good thing. Right?
That's what you mean by context.
By context. Right? And so you have to understand those, as the name of your podcast, the nuances.
Right.
That small data, and pairing that small data with the large data,
right,
which AI depends on, which means you're going to need a human into the loop, but also a human into that interaction that happens in that loop. Because where you may shop as a woman and where I may shop as a woman may be two totally different scenarios.
Right.
Based on where we live and work and play.
Yet we're both Black women.
That's right.
We are both professionals.
That's
we
right.
both have advanced education.
Yes.
So we could look very, very similar based on big data.
That's right, on big data.
But that small data is where you win.
Small data is where you win.
I love that so much because, again, we're seeing this in, dare I say, the DEI debates. But purely from a business perspective, one thing that's been very enlightening or illuminating for me is, seeing some retailers, right, in these DEI wars, do we stand for it? Do we not? I see that as big. That's big thinking. There's one retailer in particular that I won't name, but, in my mind, for years, this has been the gayest retailer in retail. And I'm certain that is not how it is described within boardrooms. But the way that consumers interact with this brand, the things that they love about this brand is its queerness. It's optimism, it's playfulness, it's chicness, it's kind of wink effect. All of that comes from a gay, creative, atmosphere. And I have personal involvement with this retailer that I'm talking about. And so it was amazing to me, like, you know, when this retailer pulled out of Pride, right? So it was like, well, we don't want to like upset anybody, right? So we're not going to go to, and I'm like, it's not about pride. It's about the small data of understanding how your brand is actually felt by people. And so the very people that made your brand what it is and that brought that brand into their culture and and invited that brand to be a part of their culture, right? And they built this brand with that culture. You're not seeing it that way. You're thinking pride is just like pride, Black, woman, you know, Asian. You're not understanding the small data of what pride is about, but more importantly, how that integrates with the way that people feel about your brand. And so if your brand is seen as open, loving, hugs to everybody, celebrates everyone's joy and choices, and then executives say, well, no pride, it's like you've missed the point. You've missed the feelings that people have for this brand.
Yeah.
And when you sell commodities, actually, when you sell anything, you're just introducing competition.
Sure.
And so I think it's like these polarized, whenever it comes to like gender or pride, it's like it all gets polarized and political.
Yes.
But the thing is, if you don't have people on your team that can help you unpack and have honest conversations about the way that your brand is perceived, the reason that people interact with it, and how that brand has been a part of their hearts, and now that you've turned your back on them, you can't get that back because these are minority populations that are used to this. This is not something minorities are not familiar with, right? And so, you know, the reason I bring this up is because I think in the whole DEI debate, we are missing the important piece of feelings, where anyone who has been in a minority group knows what it's like to basically have someone bank and cash in on the culture that you have created. Appropriate. Culture vultures, right? And we all know the difference, nuance, right? I know the difference between who's generating culture and who's creating culture and who's contributing to culture. And I can see who's taking from culture. And I know exactly what they're getting out of it, which is fine if we're all in this together.
Right.
But the minute that you let the rest of us know that you were just here to appropriate and cash in until something else comes along, you're just kind of irrelevant.
Yes.
It's not canceled. Because honestly, I just don't think of you anymore. I'm not mad at you. There's no fight. But everything that I'm describing right now is emotional. And you can almost see how in these messy narratives around DEI with companies, it's almost like people are like, well, that has nothing to do with business. You know, the data has, you know, this has nothing to do with the data. So we don't need to talk about these other things. I'm like, but these emotional things are what is driving the consumer behavior.
Yes. And the idea that it is not about business has been proven untrue. I mean, it's study after study, it's case after case, it's thought leadership after thought leadership, right? I mean, the clear example is, you know, if you want to invest in female, the notion, and I'm not calling any names either, because we're not here to shout out any big box or big brand. But, you know, if you want to spawn female innovation and invest in that, well, you get, you know, a 35% return, right? That's one metric that's out there, right?
This is well established.
It's well established. Next, it says, well, if you want Black, then you might get 40%, right? And I always beg the question, if you do nothing, you might get 15 to 20%. Now, if we're talking economics, if we're talking return on investment, I don't quite know anyone that would pick 15% versus 25, 30%. Regardless of whatever your thinking is or your feelings are about this. And so I think this is a real important issue that lends the conversation to leadership in the tech space or just leadership in general. Because as a leader, there has to be something. There's leadership and then there's the will to be the leader.
Ooh.
Right. And what that means.
Please unpack, Dr. Fay.
Yeah. I mean,
let's talk about the will.
The will.
Because again, the word purpose gets used a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but I think will is like it's a very specific word versus like determined or grit.
Yeah.
Will is what? Will
is, can you stand on what, i.e., can you stand on what, first of all, what you believe in and i.e. what the data are showing you. Because sometimes, and the insights, from big and from small data, because even though it could be clearly right there that you should be investing in X or Y, and then you may get opposing objections from someplace else, do you have the leadership,
the fortitude, the words,
the gravitas? Do you have what it takes, the resource, the social political capital to make it happen? Because this is showing you. The AI is showing you,
That's
right? The algorithm is showing you. But if you choose to ignore, then what, right? So then you may have a scenario as you're referring to in this retailer position, right? And so I think that this calls for, what does leadership look like in this new space that we're in right now?
Right.
Yeah.
I love that, because I do think, and we've talked about this, like I feel like integrity looks different now.
Integrity looks different.
Integrity looks different now. And so when you think about being a leader now, there is a call to rise up. And I think that there is a call, like, I think we need leaders now in a way that, like, you read about in historical documentaries on PBS.
Yes.
Like we need some Teddy Roosevelts. We need some, some Booker T. Washingtons. I need some people that are going to take the call and take it forward. And so what does that look like now?
That's a very good question, because I think particularly as you and I sit here as two Black women, right? Right now, some people have said, look, you all deal with that.
I've done and did it.
We have put our, we've given, we push the train across the track. We constantly do this. And some people say, I'm out.
Yep. And I'm not going to lie, I have been that person.
Yeah.
I have felt a very strange and almost perverse relief.
Yes.
And that I'm ashamed. I'm going to be honest. I am ashamed to admit that I have felt relief in sitting back and been like, I'm done.
Yes.
Y'all asked for this, and I have been screaming for the last 4 decades.
Yeah. And it's okay to be tired.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, is two Black women sitting here giving ourselves grace, right?
Let's talk about what that means, right? Like, what does that look like to give ourselves grace?
Right. So there's the I'm done, and then there is the I'm going to keep marching on. I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep grinding. Grinding, right? And sometimes that grind and that grit, again, it gets worn.
It does.
I think it's someplace in the middle. What does that look like in terms of grace? When you're on, I'm off. When you're up, I'm down.
And how do we not make it binary? To use technology terms, right? How do we not make that on or off, or 1 or 0? I'm in or I'm out.
Right. And it's a Likert scale. It's not binary. It's not 0 or 1s. This is not compute in this spot, right? Right. So somehow we have to figure out, what does that Likert scale look like?
I really like that too, because again, I think there was a time where you would say, well, I have my principles. Yeah. And I would kind of put any adverse event through my principles, like a Plinko board, and see if it comes out the bottom. And if it comes out the bottom, I'll do something. Okay. If it doesn't, it's not my problem. Yeah. I just think that right now it is much more complicated than that.
Yes.
And so it's like, I have to figure out, do I take this on? Do I not take this on? What does my decision tree look like now?
Yeah, the decision tree.
And I think we have to build, and we all know in design systems, decision trees are real and they're very important, right? In terms of focusing your investment and making sure that you're doing the things you need to do, not doing too much, not gold plating, and not just burning up cash.
That's right.
Same thing, right? It's like, I almost feel like back in the day, right? They used to say, you have your personal board of directors. Yeah. Ray Dalio says you have your principles. Yes. And so now I'm like, what's the Plinko board? What's the decision tree? Yeah. Because it's just, with all of what's going on, it's not going to be enough for me just to say, well, here are my 5 questions I ask every time. No. It just won't be that clean.
No, it won't be that clean. It will be murky, but I think it's also important. Even if you don't have a board of directors, you have your trusted people. Yes. Yeah, and
you're one of mine, so that's easy for me to say.
I appreciate that, right?
Well, and you are. Like, that's real.
And I think, we have to rely on each other and just not make this a decision tree that only we will look at the outcomes. Because on that decision tree, I clearly remember this. On that decision tree, they're probabilistic. right?
Yes.
This decision might be 0.3. This decision might be 0.1. This decision might be 0.0, or there's no 0.0. It's weighted, right?
Yeah, it's weighted.
So it's weighted. So if you got a 0.5 or 0.4 or 0.2, figure it, let's run it through. And then you got to step back and you have to say, hey, I'm coming to you as a friend, as a confidant. And I will say, Marriage, does this make sense?
Help me look at this.
Help me look at this.
Are these ratios right?
Yeah.
And then I can say to you, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I've been working on a deal all week, or a deal fell through. I run my own business. I don't know that I've got it, because that's to me what your trusted advisors will help you work through, right? Because again, the numbers will only get you so far.
That's right.
And I think just to bring into what you're saying too, like, we all know in the tech world, the design world, even in design systems, right? The rules apply until they don't.
Until they don't.
And that's honestly, I think, what defines leadership in a lot of these like subjective spaces, is just being able to make the right call. Even with the data suggesting something else, it's like, what questions do you ask? Because if there's something, and I always have found, like, when I'm trying to convince myself not to do something, I probably should be doing it. Yeah. And when I try to convince myself not to do something, to do something, I probably shouldn't be doing it. And I think the reason that that's important is because there is something about your emotions, your feelings, reading a room, reading people's body language as you're presenting these things. Oh, yeah. And all of that has to go into it as well.
Yes.
And so it's like, I feel like now is a time where that is becoming unavoidable. Like, I can't hide, like, a lot of the decisions that we are faced with right now as leaders, as Black women, they are consequential in ways that they may not have been in the last 2 decades. Yes. I mean, they've always been consequential, right? Everyone takes pride, right, in making good decisions and learning from each decision that you make. But I feel like the consequences of decisions, even when it comes to, do I lay on the couch?
Yes.
Or do I get up and go to a rally? Those are consequential now.
Yes.
And so the weight of that is a lot. And so I think when you talk about grace, it's like, how do you kind of infuse grace as like an aperture?
Yes.
In these moments.
Yes. And so for me, I'll be honest, just personally, what I do is I have to step back and I say, I can't do everything.
Yeah. And how do you give yourself that license? Like,
that license, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score.
Oh, yep.
The body keeps score.
And a healthy body doesn't lie, by the way.
And
a body does not lie.
The body does not lie.
No.
And so knowing the body, but also the mind, I think is very critical in how I have decided to say, not this one. Or
I love that.
Not that one. I really, and so there are structured times when I say, I am not doing this on this day.
Now, you might even make that decision that day. Like, you may have had a big plan the day before, and the next day you're like, you know what? I'm either changing the decision, or I'm no longer doing this because I'm just not feeling it.
That's right. Because
that's powerful.
Because, the fatigue of it all sometimes is lingering, what I've learned over these many years.
You and your hot yoga, though. This is so hard for me to believe, because I don't.
Look, and I still do,
took
right?
one hot yoga class and got pulled out of it. I'm not even kidding. You know how much I love yoga, but hot yoga, that one got me.
So, you what I have learned over the years is that, right, you can take care of yourself in many ways. And this is where the technology of the AI, the small data that really matters, that you may not pick up in that model, right? You may not pick up the fact that, listen, I may eat like this, live like this, work like this, take care of my body like this.
Yeah.
But then I may not rest like that. And what I've learned is, if you don't rest, the body will keep score.
Yeah, it's like a debt you owe your body.
Oh.
That's a great way to put it. The body keeps score. And I mean, I think, again, especially in this world, right, of all of like the body augmentation, you've got like the weight loss drugs, again, I still think it's an interesting time, because it's like, as people start to look more and more like each other, as AI forces us more and more to sound like each other, I think the real winners are going to emerge as people that are independent thinkers, right?
Sure.
And so, but I feel like no matter what you do to your body, I don't care how skinny you are, what plastic surgery you've had done, the body doesn't lie. Like, when you are healthy, you are attractive, you're compelling, you're firing on all cylinders, you're like being your best, like, attractive self.
Yes.
And it's like, you could look on a photo great. But the minute you start moving, it's like the body doesn't lie. Like that person's not healthy. That person's burned out.
No, the body keeps score.
I can't follow that person.
Yeah, the body keeps score. And not only does it keep score, it keeps score with interest.
Ooh. I'm going to share a personal story on that. And I hesitate to share this because this is definitely a vulnerable moment. But a couple of years ago, I can't remember if I told you this, but I almost went blind.
No.
So
what?
So, as you know, I own my own business. Yes. And sometimes that is, it's all work. It's like when you don't have a ton of work, then you're nervous about not having work. When you've got a lot of great work and there's like, it's like everything is going well, there's work in that too. All of it's emotional, right? And all of it is just like trying to keep yourself calibrated and just keep yourself in check. Optimistic, productive, getting people to do what they need to do. It's a lot of work. And I think that I didn't give myself enough credit for how much work that was. And I wasn't tabulating how much work that was. I was definitely not including those costs, right? Yeah. And the overall cost of having my own business. So I go to the eye doctor, and my eye doctor is great, and he's brilliant. And he's like, "So are you stressed out?" And I was like, "No." And I genuinely did not feel stressed out. Like there have been times where I'd say I was stressed out, and he looked at me dead serious, and he's like, "Well, you've got cortisol coming out of your eyeballs, and it's an actual eye disease where you can go blind because it's literally cortisol is inflaming your eyeball." And then he shows me the X-ray, and there's like 3 big circular balls, and he's like, "That is literally cortisol inside of your eye." And so I kind of cracked a joke. I'm like, "So I have like cortisol coming out of my eyeballs?" Not laughing at all. And he's like, "You've got 2 choices. You learn how to reduce stress naturally. We do surgery. Either way, if you don't figure this out naturally, you're going to be visually impaired." Wow. And so I walked out to the car, and what's the first thing I do, right? I start stressing out. I was like, "How do you reduce stress?"
Yeah.
I don't even feel it.
Yeah.
And it took me, so that was in 2023. And I had to make very deliberate choices about how I was going to figure this out. Because I had to even give myself the time to figure out how to reduce stress. Yeah. And that meant changing the clients that I took on. It meant walking away from opportunities financially, which is stressful in itself. Yes. But it took me about 2 years, I think, to really get to a great place. Like I got my Garmin watch, like I was monitoring my stress. And so luckily for the last 2 years, it's completely gone away. I was like pre-glaucoma, the eye disease has gone away, my eye aneurysm went away. Oh, but to your point, I had no idea. Yeah. I didn't even feel stressed. That was just what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And then on top of that, if that's happening to my eyes, what's happening to the rest of my organs?
Oh, of course. And cortisol doesn't stay in one place.
Right? Right. And so that really, it just scared me straight. But I think, again, it's one thing when you maybe tell yourself you have the security of a W-2. Yes. But when you are independent, that is tricky. Yes. And so I do want to just pivot to that a bit because you have built a career where you have been in top academic institutions, you have your PhD, you have been a teacher, you are a consultant, you have so much that you have built over the years and that you provide as your own business, your own brand. Yeah. How did that come about?
How did it come? It's interesting. Entrepreneurship came to me as I had an uncle. Oh, okay. I had an uncle who was talking to a fellow friend many years ago when I was in undergraduate school. And this friend owned a construction company. And apparently this friend of his was having problems with his database. Okay. And my uncle happened to say, "My niece can do that." And he said, "The next time your niece is here, introduce us." That was my very first client. I was in college. I was in undergrad.
Just looking for that money, like a squirrel running around, putting acorns in your mouth. You're like, "Yeah, sure."
He was like, "Well, can you do?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can clean up the data. It's not a big deal, right?" And that's how it began. Right?
These are the real stories, right? Right. All right. It wasn't like you sat down, you said, "I shall now be an independent female entrepreneur. And here is my plan. And here is my 3 to 5 year time horizon." Like, it wasn't, it was just like, it literally I just started.
It came to me, right? So I didn't go looking for it. And when I think back to my childhood, there were always things that I was doing in terms of odd jobs that people didn't want to do. I'm like, "I got you. I'll do that. As long as you pay me. We negotiate," right? And so it started from there. And then once I started building, on this sort of data-focused work, then everything sort of took its own route, right? And I started building this reputation, and it became truly word of mouth for me.
And honestly, I think word of mouth is a better way to build organic business.
Yeah.
Right? Because at least it's safer that way.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have, there's some connection with someone that means that, there's less risk of you engaging with this person than like somebody cold.
True. And so this construction person told that construction person who told this construction. And so it became this sort of organic opportunity, and it lured me in. And what lured me in was this idea that I could solve a problem. That was really important and help someone. Because it was
interesting? Like that's brain candy for you? Or
it's definitely brain candy for me. Yeah. I studied what I studied in STEM, in engineering, because it was brain candy for me. You give me a problem, I'm going to solve a problem.
And so you know that about yourself.
I do. I know the thrill of the chase of the solution really reels me in, right? Yeah. And so that's where it all started from. And then I think over the years, particularly as I went on to get my PhD, and then after I got the PhD, opportunities kind of presented themselves in PhD programs. And from there, it kind of emerged. And I have managed it carefully.
Talk about like, how have you managed it? Like, what have you taken into account?
So what I will share with you, there have been pivot points in my career. And I'll share a more recent one when I've said, I'm not doing that again.
That's hard.
That's very hard.
How did you make that decision? Like what went into making that decision?
So this is my decision tree, right? Mm-hmm. My decision tree was, I'm not going to do that again because that is not opportunity for me, given all that I'm bringing back to the table.
Right.
There's no appreciation for that. And so in my decision tree, what went in was, let me talk to my financial advisor. Let me see where I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you walk away from this?
Can I walk away from this? My decision tree was, let me talk to my spouse. My third decision tree is, I'm a very spiritual person, and they may not have all happened in the same order. I was like, okay. Is he up there? You got me. If I jump off this cliff, what will happen?
Looking up. Time is now.
I'm open.
Ready to receive.
Been there. So those were the things that really drove it. But I knew I am not going back to what I was doing prior, because I am not going to go back to letter A when I've advanced to letter M, and you're telling me that this is all that I can do. No. So I walked away. And in that walking away, what I was able to do was to say, now I can kick into that what emerged organically, and I can leverage, right?
Because it's an informed decision.
It was an informed decision.
Yep.
It was an informed decision. And fortunately, I had great clients. But what is important to me is I'd rather have 5 and a strong relational understanding versus 10 where it's strictly transactional.
So that's important. And I share that. And I share that for a couple of reasons. A, I'm a very introverted leader, which surprises people. But I know, but I am truly an introverted leader. And so I have always built business, like even on the corporate side or on the I've always built business through relationships, because it's like people, once you kind of work with me, you know what value I can add.
Yes.
And I'm not always great at explaining it, but you kind of know it when you see it. And so, there have been a lot of people, right, that have said, well, you've got to, if you're going to be a consultant, you've got to have a pipeline. And how are you going to nurture that pipeline? What conferences are you going to go to? Like, how are you going to do all this outbound sales? And I remember feeling so insecure about that, because I was like, but when I look back on my career, even when I worked in companies where my job was biz dev, I never did outbound. I never did pitches. I didn't believe in pitches. I thought, why would I be giving free work?
Yes.
Like you can either hire me based on the conversation we're having, you can trust me in the same way that I'm trusting you.
Yes.
Because if I don't feel like a relationship's equitable or fair, I don't want to work with you anyway.
True.
And I used to always believe that, even when it was like, well, we should just do this pitch, or we should spend 3 weeks on showing them what we're all about. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I don't do that in my current business. But it was hard because a lot of people were like, well, this is the way to do it. And I'm like, but I've now been in business for 5 years on my own. And I'm like, but it's worked for me in the way that I need to do it.
That's right.
And I'm not extroverted in that way. And so it's better for me to like cultivate and build and develop my business in the way that is right for me, which is hard, right? Because it's not necessarily conventional. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about when you were talking about kind of making these informed decisions, right? Especially about finance.
Yes.
You know, there have been a lot of people that have said to me, look, if you want to make money, you got to have a product, or, you know, consulting will only give you so much money. Buy some laundromats, you know, buy like, here's like some, again, conventional financial advice, right? Like build a real estate portfolio. I'm never going to successfully manage a real estate portfolio. I literally just don't have it in me. I don't have the interest. I don't want to be surprised by water heaters breaking and all of the property management that goes into it.
Sure.
And landlords, some people love it. And honestly, they can do it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think you have to be careful when very, very smart, because most of us have very smart friends.
Yes. And
they do it brilliantly. And it's tempting to say like, gosh, why can't I just do that too?
No.
You know, maybe they're right. Like maybe consulting. And it's like, actually, I love consulting. I love, you know, like having these novel challenges all the time. That's what keeps me excited. I don't love repetition.
Yes.
I'm not the person you hire to put things in sustain mode. I like ventures. I like to build new things. And so I'm bringing that up because I think, again, there's so much traditional, conventional advice out there when you want to start your own thing that it's almost easy to fail to launch.
Yeah.
It just gets heavy. And you're like, I don't think I'm doing this right. Therefore, this isn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But the idea that you would be, I won't say forced, or directed in a way that you don't have passion for is a clear sign on the decision tree that should be a 0. That's an egg.
But
that's an egg.
I love that.
Yeah.
That visual is important.
Yeah.
Now remember that.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's right. But it takes a lot of belief in yourself to say, I get that that's conventional. I get that that's working for 80% of the population. But guess what? Like, I'm not average. I'm not in the bell curve.
Right. So, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. You thrive off of startup, of not sustainable, right? You know,
I mean, I build it to be sustainable.
So you build it,
but I don't want to be the one that I don't want to create a rhythm of business.
That's right. That's right.
I get that.
You
but
like
I don't want
new.
To.
You like new. You like novel. You like messy.
I love creative. I like tech. I like it all. It's like, yes.
Yeah. And it's nothing wrong with that. You know that that's your sweet spot.
I do.
And if that's your sweet spot, that's okay.
Trust that.
Right. I wake up every morning and, you know, sometimes it's easier said than done, but I say it to myself, I'm banking on me first. How did you finally were you always that way? Or did that come over time? Listen, I have a mom and a dad. A mom and a dad that just were unrelentless. They were unrelentless in the confidence that they instilled in me.
Oh, I love that. That's important. And people don't talk about that a lot. Oh,
and listen, there's no famous name behind them.
Yep.
There are no commas after their names. But these two people put in me, along with a grandmother that just, it literally was, this is what's going to happen. So this idea of I don't belong here or there, that was never an issue for me. My mother always told me, you belong.
Mm-hmm. And how important is that,
you
right?
belong,
especially in a world that is telling you all the time.
Yeah.
In subtle ways, not so subtle ways, direct ways, violent ways. You don't belong here.
Oh, yeah. And so for me, that part, thank goodness, has stayed with me. Now, that's not to say that sometimes I have not questioned where I have gone.
What has given you the strength? Like, what do you pull on to get back in that place of saying, no, I'm here. And this is exactly where I need to be. And this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Where do I pull on? I pull on several sources, right? Again, there's a spirituality for me.
Okay. Is that directly God? Like, is that a religious thing, or is that more just like a spiritual thing?
I think it's both. I think it's. I don't think it's an and or an or. I think it's a both proposition for me. Mm-hmm. I think is when I look at my children. Mm-hmm. What would I say to them, right? And I've never been the parent that sort of keep things away from them or painted these
Shield
glorified pictures. No, mom had a bad day. Mom had a bad day.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Right.
That comes from having a spouse, a husband that really, really supports me. That comes from people like you, because I do have a community, right?
Yes, you do. You have built a beautiful community.
I have a community.
A beautiful community, a very rich and vibrant and just brilliant community.
And
yes.
I, even my mom she'll say, wow, you have such great friends.
You have real friends.
I have friends.
Real
right?
friends. Yeah. You don't have acquaintances. I think that you have genuine friends.
Yeah. And so I think it comes from all of that. And some days I have to look at myself and I say, girl, let's go get them. Right.
Okay.
Let's go get them.
I love that.
And so that's how that's how sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down.
And again, that's
I'm in
the
middle.
grace, right?
Right.
It's like almost like sometimes you will be up and sometimes you will be down.
And so now at this point, I give myself grace. I can't say that I always gave myself grace, especially when I'm going to lurk back to the question that you asked. Like, you were supposed to be non-emotional in this tech space, right?
You really prided yourself on it.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly did.
Oh, yeah. How many hours can I work? How long, can I solve the problem? Can I be
how many
first?
supplements can I take in order to keep my energy up?
Look, can I be first to market? In other words, first out the gate with the solution, right?
First in the meeting with the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think all of that is part of how I managed to maintain that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's like learning from all of that and then just continuing to learn.
Yes. Okay.
So I want to be mindful of your time. Obviously, this is brilliant. I'm grateful. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
So what I will say in wrapping it up is that I believe in giving my people their flowers while they're living.
Yes. Gosh, right? We don't do that enough.
And so to you, I want to say, I know we've been trying for 365 days, right? Or however you said it. You said a year, right?
Podcast. Welcome to M-Share Studio, Dr. Fay. You're finally here.
That's right. And so what I want to say to you is give yourself grace, because it's a process. But you're doing what you do, and you do it really well.
Thank you.
Whether it's tech and art or the both of them together. But what I know is that as a creative, you're one hell of a creative.
Thank you. That means the world to me. You know that means the world to me. You've known me a long time.
Yes. And just being here in studio, the sheer amount of, I was like, it's okay, right? But I could tell the creative side. I was like, she's going to check that mic like one more time.
Because I honor you.
Right.
How horrible. I don't take your time for granted. It's like, if you're going to do this, let's do this.
Yeah.
I want it to be something that you really benefit. Because again, this whole podcast to me is your flower. Like, these are the flowers. By the way, these are the flowers that Dr. Fay brought to my studio this morning. But truly, I think it is so important to have people believe in you when you're in those inflection points. Yeah. And you have been that person for me. And you've watched me transition from tech to digital to creative to entrepreneurship. Like, you have watched me go through all of those things independently. And you have always encouraged me. Yeah. And again, it's like, you're right. We don't tell each other enough how much sometimes those words are like an exclamation mark at the end of your text, or like, girl, I am just so proud of you. Sometimes it's all you need to get over that day.
Yes.
And you have been that person for me. And truly, I'm just really thankful that you were willing to take the time today, because a lot of what you shared, it was deeper than just kind of the generalizations. Yeah. And I cannot think of a more nascent time for us to really start having these conversations. Like, how are we going to do this? Yeah. Because the platitudes aren't going to be enough. True. We really got to get to know ourselves, and getting to know yourself looks different for everyone.
Yes, it does. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fay.
Absolutely.